Welcome to Upgrade Your Marketing, how to leverage inbound marketing to get more leads for your travel agency. My name is Myrna, and I am a business growth consultant at Pepper Inbound Marketing. I'm also the owner of Rue Luxury Travel, an independent affiliate of Largay Travel. And so I have a lot of experience with helping travel companies grow. What I specialize in at Pepper Inbound, I mostly work with business owners who've been frustrated that they've spent lots of time and money on their websites and on their marketing in general, and it just hasn't paid off. They're just not getting leads, sales, and it's just not working. Do you ever feel like that? If you do, then let me tell you a story. So I started this company back in 2013, and my first client was a business consultant. And he had recently done this beautiful website for his company. He had paid something like $9,000. And granted, this was 5 years ago, so it probably would be more now. But he'd spent a lot of money on the website, and it just wasn't getting any traction. There was no traffic coming to it hardly. I mean, he would get maybe one lead a month, and he was getting really frustrated. So, in an effort to learn more about marketing, he brought me in to help him transform it. And he was in a situation that I like to call the marketing wheel of fortune. This is where you try a lot of different tactics, you try a lot of different things because you really want your marketing to work, and you're willing to invest and you're willing to do whatever it takes, but nothing seems to be working. And after a while, it just feels like you're just gambling instead of investing in your marketing strategies. And for my client Lance, this was really he spent $8,000 on a website that didn't generate leads. He spent $4,500 on magazine ads that yielded zero calls. He spent hours posting on social media, nothing. He finally tried direct mail postcard campaign and finally got a client. So he was just tired of this. He's like, what's wrong? Why can't I generate business reliably and consistently? So here's what happened when we implemented a strategy for him. His growth in organic traffic went from less than 100 visits per month to over 6,000 per month today. His monthly leads have gone from just one or two per month to an average of like 98, of around 100 a month now. And in the course of the 45 years we've been working together, he's closed 55 customers from inbound marketing with an average lifetime value of 30,000 each for a total of 1.65 million in revenue. So he got some amazing results. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you how you can do this too. But just to show you a little more into the stats so that you don't think I'm making this up, this is actually actual data from the HubSpot marketing software for this client. And you can see at the beginning of November, there's like nothing. And then now here in 2018, we're averaging we're getting up to 7,000 visitors per month. This is his new leads generated. And while these fluctuate a bit more, you can see like the last few months, we've been close to 100. And then finally, the number of customers generated. This is actually a really great chart. So in this software, we're able to see where the traffic was generated. So we have organic, direct, social, etc. How many contacts we generated from each source, and how many clients and customers we actually closed. So you can see that he closed 55 customers right there at the bottom. So how can you do this for your company? So it was 3 big steps with a lot of tiny steps in between, but it really comes down to strategy. So the most important thing you need to be able to get results like this is you need to have a really good growth strategy that's based on your business goals, your target client, and everything you want for your business. Then the second step is you have to actually execute. It's no good to have a beautiful plan if you don't do anything with it. And then the third key factor is you have to continuously monitor performance and drive continuous improvement. So just because you have a great plan and it worked in month 1 doesn't mean it's just going to keep working. The Google changes, Facebook changes, these things happen like daily. And so you have to constantly be measuring your results and tweaking things so that you'll get to the goals that you want for your business. So the first step of getting a strategy together really starts with really setting realistic, smart goals for your business. So you want your goals to be measurable. You want them to be specific. So we like to set goals around, when it comes to the website, we definitely need to have a goal around how much traffic we want to see each month, how many leads we want to get each month, and ultimately how much revenue we want to try to generate from that website. Once we know that, then we develop the right strategy to make that happen. Because honestly, without a really good strategy, you're just going to be spinning the wheel of marketing fortune. You're not going to have consistent results. So once we have goals, then we can really get into the strategy and implementation phase. So this is where we launch. So one of the things that we did for my client Lance is we spent a good bit of time really identifying our buyer persona. So who is the person that buys his service? And likewise for your agency, you would need to do the same thing. Develop the persona. Number two is you need a plan for attracting traffic to your website. For my client, we decided to blog twice a week. We basically developed a blogging strategy based around the key buyer persona for his business, and we make sure we blog twice a week on something that this persona would be likely to look for on the internet. Then, of course, for converting leads requires its own strategy. So in this case, we created several landing pages with forms and offers to entice the visitors to the website to actually fill out the form, give us their email, and become a lead. And then finally, once we had leads, we created email nurturing sequences, so ways to keep in touch with these leads. Because, of course, when people come to your website and fill out a form, not all of them are going to be ready to hire you on the spot. Some of them, they're just not quite ready. So you're going to want to follow up by email and maybe even by phone to try to move them along the process until they're actually ready to buy. And then once they're ready to buy, you need to have a repeatable sales process so that you're creating the opportunity for those buyers to make it really easy for them to buy from you and create trust. So in the travel industry. So most of you on this call are travel agencies. So these are some of the buyer personas that I've developed in the travel space for other clients. So we have First Class Felicia over here in the corner. She's probably my favorite. You have the people that are just fun loving and they just want to go. You have the analytical types that really want everything down to the penny. They want a spreadsheet. They want to see costs broken out. And then you have the other group who's just all about taking care of everyone, and they want to make sure that all the logistics are handled and that they know where they're going every minute of the day. But the other thing to keep in mind is when you figure out who you like to work with, do you like to work with the luxury traveler that's going to pay you a planning fee and let you handle all of the details and trust your professional opinion about the hotels you recommend? Or do you want to work with, the person that has tons of friends and has lots of group trips, but maybe they have a little bit more of a budget to consider? So depending on who that traveler is that you really want, in some agencies in my own agency, I targeted wine lovers. And so I had a whole series of marketing strategies built around wine travel. If you're more of a high-end, private jet type agent, then you'll have a slightly different persona. But the other thing I want to mention with personas, it's not just about their demographics, like how old they are, what they like, where they live, where they hang out online. Obviously, we need to know those, but we also need to consider their personality styles. Are they, really social people? Do they love to talk on the phone? Or are they more quiet email type people that don't want to be bothered? So all of these factors will be considered when we develop a marketing plan for your agency, because we want to make sure that we treat these people the way they want to be treated. And that's going to help us attract them to your agency. Content strategy was the second thing we did that I mentioned earlier. And so what is a content strategy? So content strategy, it's not just throwing up a blog, throwing up a Facebook post, here, there, tomorrow, the next day. You really have to think about this persona that we talked about earlier, and we have to think about what that person wants to know and how is the best way to communicate with them. So Your blog posts may reach certain travelers, but maybe with other travelers, they won't read a blog post. Maybe you should post video. So depending on who your traveler is, we're going to develop the right content strategy for them. So of course, it will involve blog posts or videos. It will involve pages on your website with certain content. It will involve, SEO, search engine optimization. That's technical things we do on your website to make it really easy for the search engines like Google to find your content. And we also have to think about how this person behaves online. How do they use your website? Do they want to do a lot of research on your website, or do they just want to use your website when they're ready to contact you? How are they using the website? So the more you understand that up front, the better your content strategy will be. Social media is another factor, because of course, once we have all of this content on the website, we have to promote it somehow to get people to come back to it. So a lot of times we use Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram to put out content that'll entice people to come back to the website. And social media is a topic that I'm not really covering today, but it definitely will be a topic of a future webinar. So be looking for that, because I will definitely be offering more of these with more in depth into all of these topics. So finally, once you have your content strategy, you've created some content, you're starting to get traffic to your website, we have to have some way of enticing those website visitors to go ahead and give you their email address and express interest in working with you. So there's a concept that's out there on the internet known as the lead magnet or the irresistible offer. It's basically something that you can put out there for free that you can say, hey, if you give me your email address, I'll give you this valuable piece of information. And maybe it's a list of your favorite restaurants in Rome. Maybe it's your patented packing checklist so you never forget anything before your trip. It could be any number of things. It could be a guide to adventure travel in Antarctica. Depending on what your specialty is and what you offer, you'll want to come up with something that your persona is going to want. That's the other thing. A lot of times we come up with things and the target market just, crickets. They don't care. So you want to make sure that you really think through that offer, and maybe even ask some of your clients, like, maybe if you send certain things with their documents, like what things did you get feedback on that they really love? Those are the kind of things you could consider turning into an irresistible offer or a lead magnet. And then, of course, once we have the lead magnet built, we're going to build forms and landing pages on your website to actually, it's really the little technical pieces that you need in order to be able to collect an email when someone wants a piece of information and automatically deliver the information to them, so that you're not constantly having to email these things to people over and over and over. And that's something that can be solved via software very easily. So some other examples of lead magnets. I've had a lot of success with sample itineraries. So I do a lot of group trips. And so I put out itineraries for Tuscany or Greece or wherever it happens to be. And so instead of just putting the whole itinerary on my website, I will just put a form and people can fill out their name, their email, and then I will email them the itinerary. And that way I can collect their information and I know they're interested in Italy or Spain or wherever the trip happens to be. So it gives me some information about them, which is very valuable. I've seen some agents have success with different types of travel checklists. And then insider tips are also good. So if you have some insider tips that you don't mind giving away to people that aren't yet clients, that can be a good thing to put in an irresistible offer. The next step, of course, once you have leads, is you want to turn them into customers. So it's pointless to have leads that are just leads. Until you make money, this isn't working. So we have, as part of the strategy, we will build, you need to build email nurturing campaigns. So that might be a series of 3, 4, 5 emails that go out after someone downloads some information. So for example, like if I have a guide to traveling in Tuscany and somebody downloads it, then I can build a series of emails. And the emails are not necessarily, sales pushy type emails. They can be as simple as like, hey, thanks for requesting the download. Would you, you can offer them the opportunity to schedule a call with you. Or maybe you can offer some additional information. Or I see you downloaded my Italy guide. I have this other guide to the wines of Tuscany. Do you want that? And now you know that the ones that download that not only want to go to Tuscany, but they love wine. So you can use these very strategically to learn more about your leads, and also keep making them little offers that move them along the buyer's journey. Your sales process is really important. You should have a sales process. So at my travel agency, everybody that comes in that I don't know has to go through a process. So we're going to schedule a call. I'm going to talk to them. They're going to pay a planning fee. We're going to do all of this before we ever get to a quote or a booking. Other agents have different processes. So if you send people a quote, if they fill out a form, or if you don't need that, whatever your sales process is, you need to make sure it's documented. And also the leads that come in that aren't ready to schedule a call or to book something, you need to have a process for staying in touch with them. And so we have stay in touch campaigns. It could be an email newsletter. It could be monthly. It could be as simple as subscribing them to your blog. So every time you post new content, they get a notification. You can also use social media monitoring here. So if you have software that can track social media mentions, you can actually track when your prospects are posting things relevant to, Italy or whatever the topic is that you're working in. And that can also help you kind of see what they're talking about online and possibly jump in with an offer that's relevant just at the right time. And finally, the third step is just driving continuous improvement. So we have to measure everything. Every month we measure traffic, we measure leads, we measure sales, we measure the conversion rate. So we want to know how our marketing is doing, because marketing is one of these things where it's either really expensive because you pay somebody to do it, or it takes a lot of your time if you're trying to do it all yourself. But either way, time is money. So you are making a substantial investment, even if you're doing it yourself on a budget. And so you want to make sure that that investment is paying off. So that's why we measure. Some of the tools that you can use to gather this data and be able to monitor how you're doing, Google Analytics is free. You just have to set up the code through Google, connect it to your website, and you can get these wonderful reports of how your website is doing. Another tool that's even easier to use is HubSpot. They do have a free version, but the paid version, of course, is more robust. But both of those are great tools that I use with my clients to help measure, track, and improve. So my 3 key takeaways for today is you need to build your strategy before you implement tactics. This is huge. I see a lot of people out there well, I'm going to post on Instagram, or I'm going to do videos, or I'm going to do Facebook Live, or I'm going to send out these emails, or I saw this other agent doing this, so I'm just going to try it. And I see the temptation, because you see something work for somebody and you just immediately want to try it and see if it works for you. And sometimes it does. But the key is, when you don't have a strategy, it's just hard to pull it all together. And so I think before you start throwing money at things, you need to step back, really think about your goals, really think about what you're trying to accomplish, see where your target market is relative to everybody else's, see how your marketing stands compared to your competitors, and really figure out what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your opportunities, and what are your threats, and then design a marketing strategy that's going to maximize your opportunities and minimize your threats, right? So this is why strategy is so key. The second really, really important thing is to track your marketing sources, because you want to know which ones are generating revenue and which ones are duds. Especially if you start making or spending money on Facebook ads or things like that, you definitely have to track those, because you could easily spend a ton of money. Even though it seems cheap, like a few dollars a day here, a few dollars a day there, you'd be shocked how quickly it adds up. So you want to make sure it's working. And if it's working and it's making money for you, then by all means do more, right? You just want to make sure that you're putting your money in the right places. And that's how you get the most out of your marketing budget, is by continuously checking your results and continuing to spend more money on the most effective techniques and cutting out the ones that don't work. So what now? So a goal without a plan is just a wish. So I do have a little time for questions. So if you want to go ahead and put some of those in the chat, I will try to answer those before we end. I have my contact information up here. I've also put a link to my calendar. So this is actually a little chat bot that's on my website that if you want to schedule a consultation with me, when you go to this link, Pepper Inbound Marketing hashtag get help, the chatbot will come up and help you schedule an appointment on my calendar. It's pretty cool, so you should definitely try it out. And yeah, that's what I have for today. Dima, do we have any questions? Awesome. No questions. All right. Well, I hope to talk to you all soon. I hope you got something out of this. And I will be sending out a follow-up email with the recording. Also, for the people that registered that weren't able to attend, they'll get the recording. And again, the offer stands. If you want to schedule a consultation, just visit that link. And I'll put the link in the chat so you can easily click on it. And I hope you all have a great rest of the day and a good weekend. Bye.